Teddy, I know you're busy with college baseball postseason, really getting in high gear this week, so thanks for making some time for us. I want to start with the Stillwater Regional. What did you think of the draw for Oklahoma State and the teams with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy draw for Oklahoma State. I mean, Arkansas is obviously a pretty talented team. That was kind of always to be expected, though, that if Arkansas wasn't hosting, that was going to be where they would end up. So Oklahoma State did not dodge it, and we'll see what they get there. But I think it's a pretty competitive regional, especially considering you're talking about a top 8 seed.
Teddy, Bobby Warnes was on the 2015 team that went to Stillwater, and they beat Oklahoma State, kicked them out of the regional, and then went on to win the whole thing. He's now on stat. Is there anything that these guys can take away from him and that team maybe 7 years ago?
I think that a lot of these guys have pretty strong experience in the postseason. So, it's going to be different. They haven't been on the road as much, and maybe he can help them, understand what that's about in a regional. But the thing is, like, they're looking at, they play on the road in the SEC all the time, right? And what they're going to see this weekend is not going to be that different from an SEC, weekend where they go to Starkville or something. So I think they're in a pretty good position to understand what's going into it. But obviously, any experience you can get like that, I think is helpful.
Teddy, what's your evaluation of the SEC this year? We know Tennessee's been the most dominant team in all of college baseball, but outside of the Volunteers, is this league up or down this year?
It's a little hard to tell because of how good Tennessee is, right? That, you've got this incredible team at the top of the standings, and they're giving losses to everyone else in the league that they play. So some of these records aren't as good as what you would normally expect to see. But I think the league overall is solid. I think it's a pretty typical year in the SEC at the end of the day.
When you look at teams and those that get to Omaha and go far and have a chance to win the national title, what's the most important ingredient in your mind? Is it having that third and fourth starter? Is it just hot bats at the right time? We've seen teams that didn't have a great season get hot and make it there. What's that secret ingredient in your mind to have a successful postseason run?
I think it's definitely pitching. It's not necessarily having a third or fourth starter because there are plenty of teams that kind of shoring that all up by the time they get into this anyway. I mean, the way the schedule works in Omaha and a super regional especially, like you don't necessarily need all the depth that you do early on in the year. But it's having frontline pitching for me is the biggest thing. I mean, you want to be hot. You'd love to have hot bats. But, what does that mean? Mississippi State last year was pretty terrible going into the postseason, and they got hot in a regional. It's not about being hot all May. It's about being hot in June.
Teddy Cahill, Baseball America, with us here on the Morning Rush. Teddy, elephant in the room, what's the pup's name that we're hearing in the background?
That is Millie. She has a lot of thoughts about this stuff, as you can tell.
Okay. I like I'm forgetting if it's Kimmel or Fallon. Who does Tommy, you might have, I know you're not a big talk show guy. Y'all help me out. Who is the talk show host that does like the puppy challenge where they put one team on one side and one team on the other, and whichever one the puppies go to, that's who they declare the winner. I'm forgetting which. Maybe it's Corden. I don't know, but
it's one of them late nights.
It's one of the late nights. Well, want to wish Millie a happy Wednesday morning. Hope she's doing well. Kind of to go along the lines with the SEC and Tommy mentioning Tennessee. Teddy, we know the stat since the College World Series and the field expanded. The number one overall seed has never won it. What about Tennessee convinces you that they could be the first team to actually do it this year?
Well, anything I would say about them, I would have said about Arkansas a year ago. So I think that's important to understand that we kind of always think the number one seed is capable of winning it, and it just hasn't happened. This specific Tennessee team, though, I mean, you look at what they do on the mound. I mentioned that pitching is, kind of the number one thing for me in the postseason. Well, they lead the nation in ERA. They have, this incredible wealth of starters and of relievers. Redmond Walsh this year or this weekend set the program's career saves record, and they have a guy in Ben Joyce who's out there throwing 103. I mean, so you have multiple options out of the pen to pick up on, the best rotation in the country. So I think that's where it starts for me. I mean, the power that they have, the fact that they go 1 through 9 and everyone there can hit for power is significant. But for me, I think it's all about the high-end pitching, and they field really well as well. It's a good run prevention team, both on the mound and defensively.
Teddy, when you look at Arkansas right now, heading into Stillwater against Oklahoma State, what has to change for Arkansas? We've seen, I don't want to say Jekyll and Hyde necessarily this year, but a team that played much better earlier in the year than they're playing now. What in your mind from watching the Razorbacks needs to change over the weekend in order to have a successful run in Stillwater?
Yeah, it's when I saw them in Hoover last week, it was not a great look. Not a lot went right, so there's a lot of things that you could find a way to correct. But I think the biggest thing is they have to find a rhythm on the mound again. Connor Noland was so good early in the season, and I don't specifically know why he's kind of backed up a little bit. But if they could get him back to where he was early in the year, that would be a really big deal for them. And, I think they just need to get back into a little bit of a comfort zone. Maybe they're pressing a little bit down the stretch, trying to, finish up that SEC West title or whatever. But they need to find a way to, just be comfortable in what is not an easy environment to be comfortable in, certainly. But if they can find some of that more rhythm, I think that would be a big deal.
Yeah, and you look at this, this weekend, that's certainly, finding something at the plate. So for Dave Van Horn, I mean, you got to see it front hand. He was missing time, had the food poisoning, and was hospitalized. You recall any stories like that where a team with a kind of a veteran coach and the type A of their team missed postseason time, or was that kind of a new storyline that you had to cover last week in Hoover?
Yeah, I can't remember anything like that. It was very strange because. You heard that he was going to be out for the game, and you wonder what that's about, and then you find out, and I mean that's it's not something you want to go through just on your day to day, and then to be missing games like that in Hoover because of that. I mean that just adds a lot of insult to an already uncomfortable situation.
Tommy was saying last week, Teddy, that Dave was sick of his baseball team and couldn't bear to watch him anymore. That's why he didn't show up, but. Yeah, well, Teddy, real quick before we let you go, and again, I know you're busy this week, so we really appreciate you making some time for us. Looking at the regionals right now in the Southeastern Conference that are related either home or away, which one are you most intrigued by a certain SEC team or teams that you're really going to hone in on this weekend?
I think that Gainesville and Auburn both are pretty loaded fields. I'm curious to see how that turns out. Florida's played so well down the stretch. Now they have a pretty challenging draw. What is that going to look like? I just feel like anyone in that Auburn regional can go win it. So those are two that kind of jump out to me from the SEC standpoint.
Teddy, we'll leave it there. Appreciate your coverage this morning and enjoy a heap load of college baseball this weekend in the coming weeks, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, good stuff from Teddy Cahill of Baseball
Partners
America.
at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.